Kabubbu is one of 400 school links in Uganda linked to the UK, and that's come about through the Quicken Trust, one of the best examples we have in Uganda of a partnership between a community in the UK and Kabubbu, a community of 4,000 people. So it's a real good example of best practice between the UK and Uganda in terms of community links.
Quicken Trust works in Kabubbu, a village 20 miles north of the bustling capital city Kampala in Uganda. The community here called itself the Forgotten People because they had nothing. Since the year 2000, schools have been built and resources donated to enhance learning. A health centre with equipment ensures an accurate diagnosis to save lives. 140 families have a new home and clean water, and bed nets have been provided. A partnership with Mildmay now sustains the lives of mothers with the HIV virus. Improved maternal health care through the Ugandan Maternal Hub ensures a mother survives the perils of childbirth. Kabubbu is a community being transformed. In 2004, a door-to-door survey revealed more details on each family. Enoch Kagoda, the Executive Director of the Kabubbu Development Project, comments on the statistics.
According to the survey of 2004, we found out that 62% of our population in Kabubbu are under 16 years of age. That puts a lot of responsibility on us as an organization to see how these young kids can be mentored in order to be useful within our community and the country. Many of our households are headed by women, and this puts a lot of pressure on these women in order to provide for these kids. So we have to hold seminars on parenting and also do workshops on how they can be able to raise incomes, so that all these can be able to give them skills which can help them to improve the welfare of their families.
In a rural community, there are fears, superstitions and perceptions that grip people and hinder change. However, change is coming. Paul's story illustrates how different life was in the 1950s. Paul is 87 years old. When he was 12, his father died and he left school. At 18, he was arrested for being idle and sentenced to work for 6 months on a sugar plantation. Within days, he became sick and was admitted to hospital in a coma. The nurses thought he died, and so he was taken for burial. Friends were shocked to find he was still alive and returned him to hospital to recover. Months later, Paul left the sugar plantation and walked 70 miles to find paid work. He arrived in Kabubbu.
When I arrived in Kabubbu, I met a man called Nekemeya. So I started to be with that man called Nekemeya as an adopted child in that family. My father Nekemeya, whom he adopted me, he gave me this land, a piece of land from his own big land. He decided to cut a part and give it to me, and he's also give me that Ruth to be as my wife. He's also paid everything to Ruth's parents. After getting Ruth, we decided to build our own house where we stay now.
Paul and Ruth were Catholics until their first baby died and the priest refused to give their baby a funeral. The distraught couple buried their baby in the garden and left the church. Later, Paul learnt to read and write and attended a weekly Bible study group and developed a personal faith.
After baptizing us, me and my wife, they teach us and they gave me a post in the church to work as a elder in that church.
Paul was later surprised when the bishop appointed him to be the lay priest in the Kabubbu church.
There is no one who paid me because I know that I'm serving God and God is the one who paying me.
He recalls now what people used to do 60 years ago when people were sick in Kabubbu.
People in Kabubbu, they used to walk by feet up to Kasanga Health Center, but there are very few who managed to walk that long distance. Many people used to go to each doctor because they can't afford that long journey.
Improving health began in 2004 when the health centre was built. Patients no longer had to walk 6 miles for treatment or ride a motorcycle taxi while enduring the pains of labour. 24-year-old Susan was appointed nurse in charge in 2008.
I applied for this job as a nurse in charge because it's a calling for me to be a nurse by God. I realized people had different ideas about health. They had different information, myths and superstition about the different illnesses that they were suffering from. But what is difficult is changing the minds of men. The men are really very hard because they don't actually go to the health center, they don't come to the health facilities, they actually just send the mothers, so they're not easy to get, to get the information they need. I think love plays a very good role in healing a person, because when somebody is sick, they're actually sick psychologically. So when you actually treat them physically and then show them love, they'll actually go away very happy. You have treated their mind, and then they think, I have this nurse actually cares so much. Instead of actually giving me the medicine, she can actually also say, I love you. She can give you a word of encouragement, which is really very good. If you don't have the resources with you, it makes the work that you do very hard and very difficult. At times you even feel like, can I really maybe do away with doing the nursing that you're called to do? But you actually end up, saying, God, please come in and intervene. And say, maybe you'll touch somebody's hand and say, can I pray for you? Can we believe God for your healing? And then you leave it at that.
Change happens in many ways. Resty is a mother. She too stopped her education when she was 13 and her father died. She had her first baby at 16. 2 years later she married and had 2 more daughters. In 2003 the Adult Literacy Centre opened and Resty enrolled for English lessons.
I attended lessons in the library in 2002 to speak English, because at first we received a visitor from UK in our church, and when she was preaching, I never understand anything. And the second reason is because at that time I was very, very poor, and I was working very hard, lifting heavy bundles of greens, no job, no hope. When I take patients to Married May, and I saw many HIV people. They are men, and I think about my life. My husband has many wives, and when we are discussing about HIV, he doesn't like to stop making lovers. And I started to feel afraid of him. When we talked about HIV blood test, my husband refused to be tested, and I decided to stop pre-sex with him until he will agree to be tested, but he refused. And it was not very easy to me to decide, because every time I failed to pre-sex, he liked to beat me, he liked to shoot me outside at night. Sometimes he promised me that I will kill you. Life was very difficult to me because the husband refused to pay school fees for my 2 daughters. He refused to feed them, to give them medication. I have to look for everything for my children. We built a big house, 5 rooms together with the 3 boys' quarters and a garage. So I decided to leave the husband. And now I'm living in the very small house, 2 rooms. I'm living in the quarter.
A Christian faith helps change myth to truth. Peter came to Kabubbu as a qualified primary school teacher in 2006. Later, he was appointed as a part-time pastor in the village. One of the prayers he teaches the children in the primary school is, "Lord, give us knowledge and understanding."
Dear Lord, we thank you for the protection. Dear Lord, as we are going to class, give us knowledge, and understanding. In Jesus' name, we pray. Thank you, Lord.
I think the words of this prayer are very important because children in this community really have got a chance to go to school, and that is why they ask God for the guidance and knowledge.
Most charities don't operate in rural areas where 80% of the population live because of poor infrastructure and accommodation. Educated Ugandans migrate from the villages to work in towns with better communication links. Living in a community with superstition, witch doctors and huge social problems is not easy.
In this community, Kabubbu, we have many social challenges like abusing children, drunkenness, illiteracy, joblessness. I have seen some amazing changes in the lives of many people in Kabubbu. For example, there is a lady whose husband was drunk for the last 15 years since they got married to each other. The husband was drunk and was beating the wife until when we talked, and they are now living happily. The man is working well and the woman is working well. They both are going on with a very good family today.
The church group also helps people practically.
The church recently kept all the money collected, and with others we have helped to build a simple house for one of the members.
Ben became head teacher in Trust High School in 2008. He previously taught in a secondary school in Entebbe, a developed area near the airport.
When I came here, it became a little bit of a challenge because this was a rural community, children are different, and the community is different. So I had to adapt to the new environment.
In 2011, Ben asked to join with UK volunteers on a development challenge.
Of recent, I went out to visit some of our students, one of the development challenges in the community, and it really shocked me to see where they sleep. There are many in the house and they are sleeping down and they are sharing the mattress. That actually shocked me more, and I became even more determined to come out and continue helping these children.
Ben and his staff have changed their approach to supporting their students since taking part in the development challenge and seeing the living conditions of their students.
Because of that, it has really made me to think that even our staff need to actually go out there and get to understand these children better.
Doreen is now 21. She started at the Kabubbu primary school when she was 11 and when she was living with her uncle's family.
Well, when I first heard I had a sponsor to go to Kabubbu primary school, I was really happy. I was young, I had lost my father, and I had no fees, and my uncle had no fees for me because he had so many kids to take care of.
Doreen finished primary education and graduated to secondary school. In 2006, she won a scholarship to Bede Senior School near Hailsham in East Sussex.
When I arrived in the UK, I was surprised to learn the way they do things, certain things, like the ways of teaching is quite different from Ugandan way of teaching, because they do mostly practicals, whereas here we do so much of theory, which is really too hard. The way they welcome people, it was really awesome to me. The thing I most struggled with in the UK was the fact that they didn't, okay, I'm not saying all of them, but so many people I used to be with in my school didn't know anything about God. Because in Uganda, I mean, not all of them, but most of the people believe in God.
After starting GCSE in the UK, she returned to Uganda to take A-levels. In May 2013, she will complete a diploma course in hotel management and catering.
But when I was in my A-level, I did foods and nutrition, and I got so much interested in hotel, cooking and hospitality, so that's why I chose to be so much. One day I hope to get married and have children, but I want to have 3, and I want a man of my tribe, really. And another thing is I want to get married after having done something of my own, because so many married people get problems, I mean women.
Reports worldwide indicate that a girl who completes education makes a choice to later limit the size of her family.
Quicken Trust supports over 900 children in primary and secondary education and 59 students in university and vocational training. Other forces are at work undermining change.
James is a local councillor responsible for 5 villages. He reports through a district council structure to the equivalent of a UK chairman of a county council. Without an office, a car, a phone or a computer, he seeks to bring law and order to preserve life, property and livelihoods. Kabubbu community has orphans, migrant workers and Rwandan refugees. Life skills like cooking and gardening have not been passed on. Grays, a UK company, donates funds to teach new methods of agriculture. Gardens are now small, so learning new methods is vital. 12-year-old Solomon's family are refugees from Rwanda, and he tells us what he is growing.
I was growing, mixing maize with beans, but now I don't mix them, because when you mix them, they become overcrowded and we don't get good harvest.
Solomon is a fine example of the process of change. Kabubbu is a community being transformed through education, supernatural interventions, self-awareness, a change of circumstances, empathy, prayer and love. For Quicken Trust to continue assisting Kabubbu's transformation, we now need corporate support through social enterprise, skills, equipment and child sponsors. Thank you for supporting orphans and families in Kabubbu.